Was talking to my friend Anne the other day, and three interesting questions came up, which may resonate. They're pretty similar. One was, when there is nothing to hold on to, what do you grasp? Number two, what do you hold on to when there is nothing there? Three, where do you turn when there is nowhere to turn? This may speak to some of you, it may not. Um, but it's a kind of existential quandary that crops up at different points in people's lives, and occasionally in the larger community, or even as we're experiencing it right now, perhaps in the larger world, when there is so much unsettledness and drama and transformational space, and logic and reason have kind of gone off the rails. And there you are. There we all are. And sort of what do you do, do being an active word, in the midst of all of this? And I think everyone's looking for their own answers, of course. And I think week by week, I've been sort of addressing these things because they come up to me through all of you, really, and through myself and through everybody around me. And it's a pretty extraordinary moment that most Westerners, especially American Westerners, especially people who have some comfort in their lives, have really not had to confront. And there, there may be no answers to this. There may be a few. Um, and so, in the search for answers, because I have to unfortunately once a week talk to you guys as though I know something, I've been trying to find what I can say to you. And and so things crop up. And this week, it's a really interesting week. As you may know, this weekend is particularly meaningful in the Judeo-Christian sense. Uh, But one of the things that hit me more than anything was watching a TV program on the life of Chopin. And I don't know if any of you watched it on PBS, but it starts out with a Polish city, I believe, where he was born, and it was under attack. Walled city, protected as best anybody in those days could protect their fortresses and their well-being and the lives of all the citizens inside, everybody going about their day-to-day life and their business, and somebody decided to attack them. And so there were these amazing models of the enemy approaching the gates of the city and every other part of the city and creating extraordinary measures to find a way in to the safety zones and the comfort and the beautiful lives of all of these people living there. And in the end, they do. They break into the city and they destroy a culture, they destroy a world. Um, and, you know, we've lived in such a wonderful time. We don't think about, Cincinnati suddenly invading Cleveland, and we don't think about New York and well, New York City and what whatever city nearby under attack by its neighbor. Yeah, Los Angeles and San Diego. I mean, but it used to be like that. It really used to be like that. And safety was considered something you bought into your king for because he was going to provide it. He was going to build the fortresses and build the world. And you probably had armies and people who were ready to kind of do battle. But most people went about their day trying to live like normal people. Kids going to school, making dinner, going to bed at night, all of that stuff. But when they're drawing all of the armies around the city, the world is in a different position, and your internal life is dramatically changed by that. So all of this points to a very interesting question. What does Chopin do? And I'll tell you what he did. He made music. He made stunningly beautiful music. And it lifted his spirits and it lifted the spirits of all the people around him. He found a way to transform all of this energy into beauty. And it dawned on me today that that's an answer for a lot of us. Now, I don't play an instrument. Uh, I was a writer, but my art form, if you will, is mostly photography, something I enjoy. I don't claim any great achievement in it, but I do find in the last months, particularly in the middle of all of the surrounding of the troops and the battlements around us, that I just sit down and I go to my photography and I do things with it. I don't, I take a photo and then I alter it. I add color, I add movement, I take out pieces of the photograph, I move it around. I could spend 40 minutes to an hour on one photograph. And I will tell you, it's among the most wonderful moments of my day. Just doing that. Suddenly the world goes away. I'm not looking at the news on my computer. I'm looking at a picture. And it gets prettier and prettier, or more beautiful, or more interesting, or more dramatic, or whatever it does. But it really draws me in. And the thing that's inspiring it is this quiet internal guidance mechanism and search for the aesthetic whole, this thing that makes something right, that makes something beautiful. Now, uh, not everybody is a photographer. I mean, I'll tell you, it's very simple because I just use my little, my iPhone here, and it seems to be enough for me. And some of you are musicians, some of you are writers, some of you are, draw painters, some of you are cooks. You have different skill sets and talents, but when you do them, you feel, let me try the parsley, let me try the oregano. There's these things that start to come into the dynamic. And while you're making something that tastes good or feels good or looks good or makes joy in the world, guess who gets to partake of that? You do. And you get to partake of it for however long it may take you to do it, but better that than watching the news or reading the newspaper or checking your iPhone for the 400th time. It's just a better choice. Find stillness in the creative moment. If you don't have a creative urge in your body, go for a walk. Let the universe speak to you if you can. But I'm just trying to suggest, not exactly tuning out, but tuning into the joy factor, to the creative factor, because it's filled with inspiration. And inspiration comes from somewhere. My experience is inspiration is a directive from on high, if you will. It comes from somewhere outside of my mind context, my mind body context. It just starts to speak to me. And it just says, bring beauty into a space where 20 minutes ago it did not exist. Make something beautiful. Does it mean you have to hang in a gallery? I tried that for a year, for hanging in a gallery, and that did not provide anywhere near the joy of the making of the art. Having it recognized by other people appeals to the completely wrong part of my psyche, but having the creation of something that speaks to the to being itself, that's like a flower suddenly coming into play. We walk around our house. Blanche has wonderful plants, and they're so beautiful. Nobody I know does better with making plants. And when they bloom, they don't last long, but boy, the joy they bring into the moment is incredible. And it's temporal. It's not meant to last forever. Anyone who watches spring, fall, summer, winter, we know nothing stays the same. It goes away, it comes back, it keeps changing. But this part of life, this kind of reinvention, recreation, or just creation itself, is such an extraordinary thing. And people, human beings, are capable of it. And I think when there are times of great drama, and difficulty. Like if your city is under attack, why not sit down at your piano or whatever instrument you have and make some music? We're not all good at it. My grandson Eli was over last night and sat down at the piano, and he does this thing which I've never seen anybody else do. He has no tutoring at all in music, but he just sits there, and the house fills with something unlike anything I've ever heard. It's like the perfect assembly of notes and chords that just make you feel lifted up. I don't know how he does it. He also draws a lot. His drawings are really angry and like evil creatures and all these things, but they are so amazing in terms of their delicacy and their originality and the things that are coming through him. And I know when he produces one, he feels so content. So I'm just throwing this idea out because I don't have a lot more to offer anymore. If you don't want to just sit and meditate and go deep, which is in itself an extraordinarily wonderful and creative practice, if you don't, if you want to find something to do rather than just be, art. Think of art and find a new one if you haven't discovered one. Take a box of crayons and a piece of paper and just start and see what happens. It may be horrible. It may be terrible. I know as a kid, I couldn't draw for the life of me, but I had fun. I just enjoyed the doing of it. And, it would pass an hour. My mom would say, here, try to do this, do that. And I would think, wow, this is great. And of course, my mother would love everything I produced. So I automatically thought I was an artist. But I knew it wasn't there, but I knew I loved having blue suddenly merge with yellow. I just thought, well, that's interesting. Look at that. Look at the combination of those two colors. They're really beautiful. But the important part that I'm talking about is bringing beauty into the world because it's transformative. It transforms you, it transforms the people who get to look at it, and it transforms the nature of being alive because you're here for some kind of reason. Does it have to get into the Museum of Modern Art? No. Would it be nice to get there? Well, some of you are still trying, but I can only tell you it's not the goal of life. The goal of life is to find something that makes you happy and brings something beautiful into the universe that was not there before. What a nice thing to do. Great opportunity. So we're in a very interesting uh, weekend for those of you who are celebrating any kind of sort of religious holiness. One of them is it was Palm Sunday. This is the day Christ rode a donkey into Jerusalem, and it was celebration beyond belief. Uh, he had beautiful things to tell people, wonderful words to speak. A lot of people listened to him. He was coming in for the Passover Seder, which became his last Passover Seder and ultimately called the Last Supper. It so coincides with the Passover Seder that's been celebrated by Jews for the last, you probably know more the number than I do, but thousands of years. And so for those people who celebrated, Blanche and I had the family and friends over last night for a Seder that was unbelievably effortful and extraordinarily demanding on every level. But the joy that comes from the making of the food, the serving of it, the sharing of it, the sitting around the table, the family together, telling this ancient story of escape from the life, the power of the Pharaoh. And if anybody wants to know what a Pharaoh was, you can read the newspaper because we are learning right now what pharaohs are, how they act, the power they exude into the world. That the Jewish people were slaves under this pharaoh, and we're sort of seeing how that emerges, and the amazing intercession of what they then called and still call God with miracles that would persuade this evil force, this evil pharaoh, to let these slaves, these Hebrew slaves, leave Now that's a miracle. That's a big intercession. That somebody would come in and do 10 plagues so the Pharaoh could be told by Moses, pay attention. There's going to be more and more and more of these until you finally say, I will bring peace and freedom to these people. And so each of the plagues come, and in this Passover Seder, the Last Supper, if you will, is a celebration of all those plagues that were visited upon the Egyptian people as well as the Pharaoh, in order to say, be good to others. Let the enslaved people go. Let kindness rule rather than slavery and the control of other human beings. And nine of them didn't work. And they tried all this, blood in the Nile River, all these awful things. And you know, scratching bodies, itching bodies. But the last one, of course, which was really tragic, was the death of the firstborn Egyptian male in every family. And that one finally woke up the Pharaoh, and he went, wow, wow, something's going on here. I mean, it took that, honestly, for to finally connect. And and he did say, okay. And he said, leave. And they packed up quickly. I don't know how many, tens of hundreds of thousands of people, and they left. And then he changed his mind, of course, and he went after them with all of his army to try to change his mind, because these pharaohs are like that. And the luckily he got all of them through the Red Sea, or the Reed Sea, as it might now be called, and the waters parted. It was interesting, but winds can do that, and higher powers, and the people fled through that, and the Pharaoh did not. He got in the middle of it all, and the waters came and they drowned all the approaching, his Egyptian army. And it's an incredible story. It's just an amazing story about what it takes, what it takes to unseat a Pharaoh, a ruler, a dictator. These are people who are very, very embedded in their own power, in their own truth. And it ain't easy. It's not easy. Now, going back a little bit to another perspective was, as Jesus rode into Jerusalem, there were emperors, the Roman emperor, and uh, and the various outposts of the Roman Empire, and his message was coming through him, but it was coming through him, and it was also love, kindness. Let us behave differently to one another. Let us look for freedom and the beauty of life and what our power is in life, which is to love and to serve other human beings, and trying to get a message across to people that was, in a way, touching their soul, touching their psyche. And people were awakened by that. They were moved by it. But unfortunately, the emperor of the time, the Roman Empire, decided it couldn't handle that kind of speech. And so we all know what happens a week from now, on Sunday, a week from now, and this guy is nailed to a cross. So the world we are facing right now is not dissimilar to ancient worlds. It's not different. We luckily lived in a time of peace and ease and comfort, and there were things going on and it was tricky, but we lived with a level of comfort the world has never ever known. And now that is being, in some bizarre way, extracted or molded in ways that will not serve us all that well, that will remove us from a certain level of safety and ease and freedom of speech and movement and all these different things. And what are the things we can look at to know, what do we do now? Where do you turn when there's nowhere to turn? All I can tell you, one, this isn't new. This is the history of the human race. It is the experience of being human. If you want to go into the why of it, you can look into history, you can look into philosophy, you can start to think about it, read about it, you can pray about it, you can go, why God is this happening? Why me? I am not here to provide you with any answer, because I don't have answers either, except the one answer that has been given me in this lifetime, and which I've shared with you ad nauseum, is I have been given a gift of a moment that lasted several billion years in which I saw how tiny we are in the larger scheme of things, how massive infinity and eternity are, and how, in some ways, this thing that is unknowable and inexpressible comes in and forms this space that we're in. And it appears to form it with forces that are called positive and negative, good and evil, happy and sad. Somehow, these are the building blocks of an equation that we are all in right now. My experience of seeing outside of the box for a period of time, and again, it felt like it lasted forever, but it has impacted me in a way that I spent the rest of my life trying to dialogue, share, talk about this reality, and to let you know that there is a place inside us which, through the practice that we've all been given, you can go inside and you can touch that infinite moment of awe and radiance and beauty and go, oh, it's very helpful in a very dark period to find light sparking inside you. It's really, really helpful. But when it comes to something like doing, when it comes to doing something other than sitting to feel that experience, then's art. Art comes up. This idea of art is expressing in some way other than the idea of being kind to people and being nice and spreading love. This is spreading beauty. And the idea of making art is to serve humanity, if you will, although maybe nobody will see it, definitely to serve you. Do something, do something, sit at some point and just put beauty onto a piece of paper. It may not come out as beauty at first. You know, it may be scratches and scribbles, and who knows what it will turn into. I always find out when I draw, because I'm not exactly an artist, but when I start drawing, everything, the universe keeps saying, well, add this here and add that there. And I'm going to try this all the way on the other side of the paper, and then move this one and now connect that and see what happens there and make this happen and see. And sometimes it's just a scribbled and you go, not so great. Other times it's kind of shocking. You sort of look at it and you go, wow, this is actually nice. It's actually nice. And then what? It probably goes in your cupboard. You may, if you really, really like it, put it on the wall and walk into the room and go, ooh, nice, nice. It's a it's a moment of uplift and joy in possibly a period of time where that is not all that accessible. If you feel the dominance of the news, of sadness, of depression, of darkness, of things being heavy and weighty at this moment in time, and I know from the calls and emails I'm getting from people, there are a lot of people who feel that. I'm just trying to present you with something that will give you some kind of activity or thing to do that could alter that, maybe for the every day of your life, you know, part of the day, for 4 minutes, 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. Get yourself somewhere that you can smile and you can go, oh, that felt good. Period. That's a gift. And it comes out of your spiritual core, real, real inspiration, if you will, is a experience of something coming in and directing you into a space you haven't been before. It's an extraordinary thing. It's extraordinary. And I have to say, the joy that I experienced sitting still in front of my computer and not looking at the screen of emails and people asking for money and the news telling me how awful things are, I'm looking at a screen that's becoming more and more and more joyful. So that's the simple message for today. We're here to celebrate. And one of the great things in the Passover Seder, when you go through the incredible miracles that took place to save the Jewish people and maybe by extension humanity, um, There's a song that comes up every time, which I've referenced, I think, every year, called Dayenu. And Dayenu, which I won't sing for you, but Dayenu means if it never is better than this, it's enough. This is enough. The beauty of this moment is enough. And luckily, you sing it often at a Passover Seder meal, which you're surrounded by friends and family and people, and you are knowing that there's something in that cohesion of that's enough. And I'll leave you with one other word because it was expressed to me by my therapist, who always somehow leaves me with one word that says something that's worth knowing. And and we have these wonderful, I would say they're dialogues, but they're mostly like this class. I just talk and talk. But she said one word, which is connection. Connection. And I have to say, one of the things that brings me joy beyond making art, if you will, beyond the teaching experience, beyond having a wife who I love deeply and family who I live for, it's this idea of being connected. And every one of you sitting right here, right now, I'm connected to. Some of you I know personally and I have known for decades, and I cannot tell you how much I love you and how much you mean to me in this lifetime. I cannot. Some of you I've met recently and you have appeared on the screen, but I sit with you and it is shocking because when you open yourself up to this space, there is a knowing that happens that is remarkable. There is a connection. Connection is essential. Connecting to yourself through art is amazing. You know what will happen? Show the art to your friends or your family, and they'll experience connection, even if they don't like it. Mostly they won't tell you if they don't like it. So it's still a nice moment of connection. And you have this feeling of, for a moment, you belong to something. So don't worry about the enemies at the gate. Make music. Find a way. Thank you. Um, any usual comments, criticisms, fears, hopes?
Bruce, this is Christine. I'd just like to add something.
Okay.
I'm so glad you brought up art because I'm an artist and so I know how vitally important it is. I'm also an art therapist, but I wanted to add to all the wonderful things you said that art is really cathartic. So I am stewing in my rage and my despair and my grief, and I allow it to emerge, to pour out of me into the drawing or the painting. And so my emotions leave my body and are manifested, in a substantial real form outside of me, and I become the witness. And this is why I call it cathartic, because your body can't carry all of these feelings. I mean, you can get sick from being so depressed or so enraged. And so I just encourage people not to worry about judging what they make at all, but just let it out. Say, damn, I'm angry, and just pound it out, let it out.
Well,
It can be very helpful for your spirit and your physical body. Thank you
Christine,
so
thank you.
much.
Thank you. That is a perfect addition. I didn't say those things, and I hadn't thought of them in those terms, but that is really stunning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Uh,
Bruce,
yes, Dale.
I'm definitely not an artist, um, but what is giving me great joy this spring is doing some redecorating in my house. And I've lived with muddy colored ceilings as long as I've lived here.
Hmm.
And now they are white,
Wow.
and the whole house is so much brighter. There isn't a picture on the wall anywhere because I had to take everything down. But oh, I'm just enjoying it so much.
I mean, being an artist isn't necessarily making paintings and drawings and music. It is finding a way to look at your life, to re-examine your life, to play with your life. And I think I'm saying that was really smart. I want people to know that sometimes it's exactly like that. Just reorder things, you know, take the paintings off, put them somewhere else, see things from a different angle. You know, all the things that make you get out of your normal wavelength and allow you to touch the world from a different place. And it helps you break the patterning, especially if you're into a dark mode or a difficult mode. It helps you break that patterning for a period of time.
Mhm.
Yes, you may need to create over and over in different ways, but you do something, you know, you do something and make it a statement of who you are, and you will find yourself, I think, Dale, like you know, living in brighter and brighter spaces.
Mm.
Beautiful. Anybody else? Boy, so happy you're all so content and have all found your centerpieces and your everything you need. Um, I do feel love for you all, and I do know that this is a challenging time, and it's not going to go away, guys. We not in our immediate time. And so, how we address it, how we talk about it, what we do, is going to be up to us. And you can cave in if you want to. I mean, I'm sure you have friends around you who are just, you know, in dire straits, and you know, maybe you can just be one of those people who help them out. But the needs are going to be expressing themselves everywhere because, again, think the enemy's at the gate. You know, it's not like it's not a movie anymore. It's not a TV show. It's actually happening right now in front of us, around us. We are watching some, you know, new emperor take over the world. And okay, here we are. We're not prepared for it. We don't have a skill set. We don't have a history of knowing how to handle this, but we got a lot of internal guidance, and that guidance will erupt. Sharing this with each other will be helpful. The idea of making art came out of watching PBS and Chopin on television, and it was a really good piece of information. You know, we can do the thing we have to do to help, and that's where we're at. And you know, we're going to ride this. We're going to ride this together as best we can, and you know, we're here for each other. And those of you who need you know, the Bruce factor or whatever, you know, let me know. I'm happy to try to be of help. But help each other, help your friends, help your families, and you know, and if you need help, reach for it. Love to you all. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. You have a whole day, guys, in California, and enjoy every moment of it. Those of you up on the East Coast here, you know, end the day as lovingly as you can. And thank you for showing up. This has been really sweet. And I will see you all in another week or so.